完了，来不及推到3个，终于推到4个，这边的空。又是一个2打3的画面，PCS。
电子助手就要被离开一个前4，完了，后面的 Rush 看起来被打得好。
但是自己被这个线给弹回来，又是 Alex 的一个壁咚，准备要在这一波将 CFO 人全员冲掉。
差了一个位置，又是第3个，哎呀！
咱们拿了一个搭手，开始持续的追击，现在的话瞄准他的 triple，
这一波手上换了一个治愈，多第一个治愈之后就被点输了。
看这个红魔的一个推，拿着头上毛的效果把小林给推了回来。
And welcome back, everybody, once again to the PCS Summer Split Playoffs. We are all tied in the series at 1 apiece as FAK Esports came surging back to take down Flying Oyster. And speaking of Flying Oyster, you know who they're sponsored by, Clement? That's right, CTBC Bank, Taiwan's top financial institution, and they're certainly not stopping there, not until they have the title, it would appear. And China Airlines, of course, are also joining us for the playoffs. So, as we're flying high in this one, this series has certainly already delivered in 2 games.
Yeah, a lot of action happening. We're seeing the shifting of compositions and focuses across the board. But I would say that this series in general is going to be huge testament to the make or break of Mission. I feel like Mission has been, his stats have been great, but he's been one of the least impactful mid-rangers. I think we can all agree on that. You know, he's been able to play one track super well. The Victors, the Azirs, sure, but the rest of the package is missing. We don't see the Aries, we haven't seen the Talia's work for him. The Galio even has fallen off the radar for him, so I don't think Mission can cling on to, you know, one of the top mid laners if he cannot show us some more impactful champions in the early game. I really want to see Mission kind of break out of his shell and showcase the MVP status that he used to hold.
Yeah, and he doesn't even have to dip out of the champion pool necessarily, because he can pick up something like the Syndra, or he can take away the Sylas. I would love to see that. I don't know if it's first pick worthy, but we'll have to find out. Ari banned by CFO, Azir banned by FAK, already mid lane pool getting hit, and there's the Sylas ban for Tender. We'll have to do something different this time around.
I do want to say that this is a trap that FAK Esports is setting up because, never mind. I wanted to say they couldn't keep the server open, and Eminem actually has a lot of weird champions that he's played up against the server. You know, they played the Tristana Alistar combo. They have played, I think in the past, even the Draven. So, you know, they definitely have a couple cards up their hands, but, you know, they're going to keep the Sivir off for now. They're not going to challenge that one. They're just going to take the better of the hyper carry options on the table with this area.
All right. Zeri still hasn't won a game in the playoffs so far. We'll see if FAK can change that. I do like this a little bit better when they have the Sivir ban, but this is a similar draft strategy that they employed in game 1. It still didn't work out for them. This time, though, they complete the bot lane, grab themselves the Nautilus. I like this adaptation because it's clearly Nautilus has been having a blast this series.
Yeah, I think FAK Esports, it's the same thing we said in pregame. What they're typically lacking is engage. They don't have people to face tank because YSKM can't really go in first. So I like it when they pack their support and their jungling positions with people that can just start the fights. For CFO this time, they're going to go with the Talia. I will say Mission's Talia has been one of his weaker champions historically. This split, he's only had 33% win chance. On this one,
1 in 3 games.
Not the greatest look for him, but hey, maybe things have improved in the postseason, and I think they desperately need an early game champion. So I approve this selection coming in for Mission to spice things up early.
Yeah, and Gemini does have that Poppy first pick, so there is a little bit of more pep in the step, I think, at CFO this time around. For FAK Esports, they know that Holo can play the Nocturne as well, so they got a lot of options, and YSKM has a lot of options himself. He picks up the Jax. The 4-1 is going to be unleashed yet again.
Yeah, FAK Esports, what they're drafting like, it looks like another triple dive composition. They have the Nautilus engage ready already there, so they can just kind of forget about Zeri. Zeri's very survivable by herself. And there aren't a ton of good options against the Jax coming in. We saw it ban out in the previous game. There's a couple of different lines here that could be played towards. You don't really want to go for the Gnar. You don't really want to go for the what's the other champion I'm thinking about?
Gwen, maybe?
Yeah, the Gwen's gonna have a hard time here. What could happen is I think the Kennen could be a good option here, or an old line would actually be the Poppy, sending her up to top. Poppy has a great time against Jaxa.
Ooh, that would be a flex. How do you feel about the Kale? Rest has done it once already.
I would say Kale's a little too slow in the meta right now. She almost has no impact in early team fights right here, so I don't think that would be a great option. In the meantime, it looks like they're trying to cool mission by running the AC here. Last pick here for CFO. I think they just want to ban. I think the Trundle's definitely going to be the standard ban.
I think the Vi could come in for Holo. I mean, it hasn't been shown just yet, but all things considered, the Nocturne being banned away, good respect on that one, and not letting the dive come through. Skarner would also be another option for the dive. Single target, yoink him back to you, deny maybe the Poppycopter.
I feel a
toy with it to hover.
Oh,
I don't want it. The Wukong has been left through though, and I do like that. That is a little more comfortable for Holo. Hasn't lost on it actually this split, and he'll take it for the 4th time.
Good engage, much better late game than Xin Zhao. I was thinking about the Xin because you do have the Talia to play up against, but they are gonna go for I think a much better option overall. And for CFO, Gragas, he does do well against the Jax in lane, but there comes a point where you have to get things done in terms of the actual team fights, or Jax's late game is slip push past him. So I feel like CFO this time around much more focused on the bot lane, but they need something that can actually win the lane versus the Tahm Kench, versus the Nautilus.
Yeah, the Tahm Kench could be like death denial here. The Renata, I like this a little bit better because it lets them set up for some really beastly fights. I just don't think they have enough damage in their comp, but we'll see if it turns out to be enough after all. Renata does get locked in by Koala. It's a champion he is somewhat familiar with, and we'll just have to see what Frank and their comp with. The Orianna would be nice and stock standard. You don't expect Mission to necessarily shove you in on a Talia, so there it goes.
Yeah, we have seen Orianna actually do quite well in the laning phase itself versus the Talia. Of course, it's very easy to get ganked as well. Frank Esports, this looks like a TPA comp, to be honest. It's the standard 4-1, bringing you back to the days of Toys here, who also came from Hong Kong, so I guess there's a bit of a legacy.
Funny enough.
There. And CFO on the other hand, tower diving. This is what their comp is for.
I really like this from Frank Esports. I think this is a team that is developed around their strengths. Like last split, it was really kind of all about highlighting Pretender, this prospect on loan from PSG Talon. But now it is the YSKM show. Holo has been stepping up so far in these playoffs, been a lot more active. Even in the Xin Zhao game, it didn't work out. I really like what he's been bringing to this team. And I think that everybody knows that the bottom lane of M&M and carries can deliver, certainly giving themselves the tools that Nautilus has been a very impactful champion. Will probably continue to be so. For CFO, we'll see if the tower dive works out for them in this game. They have the ability to really mix up these fights, especially between the Renata Glask and the Poppycopter.
If you look at the bot lane, this is exactly where the divers are going to be going for. You have the super powerful prospect of just coming in with the Poppy and getting an instant wall bang because you have the Weaver's Wall on the backside. You can actually create your own terrain for that wall bang to work out. And Renata Glass also is really good in these tower dive situations. You heard both of these champions into the bottom lane. It's very difficult to avoid that hostile takeover when you're sitting underneath your tower. So I expect that to be the big point. But if you look at the composition overall, there's a lot more late game power on the side of Frank Esports. So CFO this time, they have to put their fast shoes on. They have to try and outrace themselves and switch gears after the first 2 games.
Yep, have to see. On to the ref for game number 3. It's still anybody's series, 1-1, tied up a piece. Frank Esports finally getting that win out. Oh, YSKM might be playing with fire here, though. CFO are looking to shut him down early. He has no idea what's coming for him.
Oh, and he walks forward.
It's the whole team!
He got him. Hello!
It's the bamboozle into the wall bang. He gets the counter-strike on. He's going to flash the pit. If he gets away, he's going to get... No way.
There's still an E from Gemini, but he doesn't have the angle anymore, and that's actually a huge win for Frank
Wow.
Esports here.
Flash for Gemini's Flash, and the heal out of Shun actually walks away with a positive trade, and the cheese from CFO is sniffed out.
Ooh, yeah, that's gonna be costly in a lot of different sectors right here, because you do have Gemini now with a kind of a slower start here, going with the E first, and then you also have I think even Mission went for the seismic shove. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll watch how this one starts out. CFO actually get into lane a little bit later, so this is a massive win for Frank Esports after that one didn't pay off.
Great start. Loving what we're seeing out of this Frank squad. Let's see if they can keep that momentum rolling right now. And YSCam, he knows that he is public enemy #1 on the CFO wanted list. Here's the Hex Flash in. Oh, never mind. I thought for a second, just for 1 second, Gemini was going to go for a cheeky level 2, but nope.
I think he was looking at the lane state and realized that he didn't really have an opportunity. He was just doing that to kind of fish for a chance, but it seemed like Pretender did walk back, so he just goes on his merry way. So overall, I feel like CFO do have to try. Ooh,
great hook. Level 1 onto the Koala. Look at the damage they've got. Dealt the autos. They just needed a bit more, and that burn from the Ignite will not be enough. Ooh, it was close, though, and there's no heal available. Koala's got to respect the Ultra Shock laser distance.
And it's a lot harder to get that HP back on 12.14. The pots give you a lot less HP here. So this is going to be a constant sore spot, and you do have Holo on the bottom side of the map as well. Could be seeing a dive incoming.
Yeah. Talk about tower dives. It works for Frank as well if they want it. Holo going to get the slow setup, and they won't go just yet. YSCam just a little bit under his own tower up against the side of Rest and top side, but exciting focus down on that bot especially. Carries and Holo actually going to be wrapping up to mid lane, see if they can get Mission. As his flash, does burn it. Traded for carries.
Good reaction time here coming in from Mission, but that's still going to be a rather difficult lane to play, as we do have Pretender controlling this wave. Mission can't really reset this one, so he's going to have to call for a jungler here.
It's Gemini.
Can help him shove.
All right, has the Hex Flash, but not his regular one, so it'd be very telegraphed to carry sprints his own to get over the wall. They're going to try to cut off Shun here. He turns around into the hook, but the follow-up's not there. Eminem wasn't on the same page.
Yeah, you already had Wukong going away here, so Shun actually gets a good bit of damage across the board, and now we have Gemini into the top side. YSCam doesn't have the flash here, but if he still has the Counter-Strike, I don't see this really working out.
I think this is telegraphed, but the wallbang comes right through. Nice steadfast presence. He gets the Counter-Strike. First blood goes through. Well, if it doesn't work, try again, and they manage to take down the top laner from Frank Esports.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate for YSCam. Too close to his own tower. I think if he stood a little bit further to the left or the top side, the Hex Flash wouldn't have been able to clip him onto any terrain. But the damage does go through. He goes down, and well, at least CFO does manage to salvage back to level 1.
Yeah, it was an extended level 1 trade, if you will, as they secure the first blood. Mission even stealing back some of his own chickens that Holo was trying to take away. I do love how active Holo has been in this series. Like, he really didn't seem like it a good chunk of this split. Like, in earlier iterations of Frank Esports, I think I often criticized him for just kind of not really showing up when it seemed like he was needed. And maybe it's because Frank were doing pretty well in lanes, but all the same, this series, he's been everywhere.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of it is just that he's engaging a lot better with the rest of the team. We're going to take a look at the top side because we didn't get a view of how Gemini found his angle right here. YSCam, yeah, it definitely stood too close to the tower. If he was a little bit on the left or right side, that stun wouldn't have been able to find him. And we see Rest able to finish it off with the Q at the very end, not having to use those auto attacks.
Good setup by Rest, actually. Kind of really baits YSCam and goes deep. That should have triggered the game sense, I think. But sometimes you can take advantage of an aggressive rookie like that. Easy to forget the experience gap between these two is so wide. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really nice move. I just think the Hex Flash is so difficult for a lot of these players to predict. That's the thing about Poppy very commonly running with the Hex Flash for the most part here.
Level disadvantage for YSCam. He's pushed back by the belly bot. No Grandmaster's Might available to him yet. And this, I feel like this matchup is going to be Brests for a little while, right? I mean, the Jax is always like, check your watch. What time is it? Is it Jax time? All right, we'll get there eventually. Holo coming into the mid. Uses the clone, just takes a bit of a lane tax and lane taxi. Down a little bit. Gemini returns to the scene of the crime. This time, though, Wise Kim is wised up and gets himself a ward down. Can he stop this? That's a big wave. And fast presence into the counter-strike. They don't aggro the turret. He hops back, and he might have to be walking away from his own tower here.
Dead.
Flashes, tries to get back under it. No, he's taken down by Arrest on the burst damage. Shockwave, meanwhile,
Mission
clipping
doesn't have
Mission
flash.
pretty heavy damage, and
down.
Pretender will get the solo kill.
Oh boy, what an off-kilter kill there onto Mission. He didn't really need to be in that position. I think he was looking for the top side, but he didn't need to follow there. A summoner advantage going into Pretender. He doesn't even have to burn his flash to get that one. And you know, this is kind of a weird fight here. What CFO are doing is that they're buying themselves a lot of time before the Jax ever comes online. If you look at the Jax right now, he's gonna have very few advantages over the side of Shun at this point. So even if Jax gets into the back line, you don't really expect the same impact as a normally leveled Jax. But in the meantime, CFO are also not really advancing their gameplay. I feel like the way that they break open this game still has to be through bot lane. It still has to be through that Weaver's Wall. So after the advantage that's been established for Rest here, I do want to see them switch focus. I think the bot lane still has to be their main avenue towards a victory. If the bot lane dive doesn't work out, I still don't see CFO winning, regardless of how far they put the Jax behind.
Yeah, this is a curious game state at the moment. Pretender is feeling himself after that solo kill on the mission, but Gemini is going to be trying to take advantage of his hubris there as he gets shoved onto the work ground seismically. Gemini can't quite close the gap, close the distance. Pretender playing to the side he has vision on. Meanwhile, Carries and Koala spot each other. It's interesting. They delay the Jax, but they delay their own game plan. So CFO, they've kind of just traded one devil for another, it seems.
Yeah, and I think a huge issue right here is that Mission just hasn't been able to get a opportunity to roam across towards the bottom side here.
Well, it's caught. Good wall bang. Doesn't matter. Yeah, this has been the big thing, right? Pretender's been playing a pretty aggressive Orianna, really turning Mission's own strategies against him. And not only that, we are kind of seeing exactly why Mission's Talia just hasn't been that good. He feels a little less comfortable on this style of champion.
I think the best Talias typically just leave waves at times. They just say, okay, you know what? We're going to go straight for it. Shun actually takes a couple power shots here, drops down to half HP. Looks like he's going to be fine, but this is a play that you don't typically see in the current patch because there's 200 local gold on the Herald. So this is just going to be a straight win for Frank Esports. There isn't a play anymore where, okay, this would make sense if CFO are setting this up. This is the comeback.
Let's see if they get it, though. I mean, YSKM's actually making his way down bottom as well. Turns tails and run. Okay, they just steal the blue buff away. Not setting up for the full dive. Dragon's still 2.5 minutes away, so that's not happening. Kind of feels like CFO were thinking about it, but would not commit.
Yeah, I like this play from YSKM. It's really smart here. He knows he can't really contest Rest on the top side. He's pretty far behind, but he's still willing to go towards the bot side because that's where the juggler is. If they're able to stop the Talia dead in her tracks, then you know that's Shun not getting that far away. In the meantime, though, we do see a lot of tower damage being done here onto this one. There's almost 3 plates down, so it's such a weird situation. But CFO might be able to win out both of these side lanes without ever using a Weaver's Wall.
Yeah, it's a very curious situation. Not what you normally expect to see when Talia comes into play. 2-level advantage, big CS difference. YSKM not able to get much done in his own lane. At least he could show and cause CFO to doubt themselves a little bit in that bottom dive potential. And now we're starting to see the last level 6s ding in. Koala does get his hostile takeover. Shin buys a couple of boots as well. And Holo's up here now. Let's see if YSKM can survive long enough. Maybe bait this out as they can turn it into a Rift Herald drop. They're even bringing Pretender. This has got to be the kill onto the Fat Man. And he sees this one coming. The flash throws the party barrel out, but he still gets knocked up into the sky. And he knows that he is out of here. Let's see if he can take YSKM with him. That's the question. I don't think he will. Shut down. Goes to Holo.
And that's going to be Jax coming back onto the board. It should be the Herald drop and a couple waves for him. In the meantime, though, I wonder if Mission wants to do anything about this. I'm a little bit surprised that they're still heading top lane and trying to get for the kill. Wisecam very low though.
Yeah, he is. Post Counter-Strike, and oh, there's no help coming from Holo right now as he gets wall-banged on the ward hop. Doesn't have flash for a few more seconds, needs it, and gets knocked up and taken out by Mission. What was going on there?
Yeah, this is a little bit interesting. I feel like it was kind of funny from FAK Esports. They tried to debate out Mission from going elsewhere. They thought that, hey, maybe Mission's going into the bottom side. And what you saw there was Kara's actually moving towards the middle. So their anticipation was, okay, Mission's going to go bot. We can push this one. We can get Jax back on board. And I have to say Mission actually outsmarted them. He cleared the wave, got out of vision, and then headed top.
Yeah, a little bit of trickery, some mind games. Mission definitely showing Old Dog still has a few new tricks there. Luden's completed as well. Talia can certainly get around wherever she needs to, and this is actually going to open up a timing window for CFO to go ahead and start off this Infernal Dragon. This is really nice after losing out on that Cloud. And lest we forget, you talked about it a lot yesterday, big buffs to the Infernal Dragon on this patch 12.14.
I think this is great for CFO's composition. They're looking to one-shot people across the board. That's what Talia, that's what the AP Gragas is built to do. So, you know, getting the Infernal, always really nice. But the question is how much they pay for it in the top side. And it does look like quite a decent amount. And it already has 2 plates going down. The full tower is going to drop there. So, you know, this is Wisecam. Welcome back to the party. He might be 0-3 at this point, but I don't think he's that far behind, even compared to the Gragas.
Looks like Gemini going to go for the dive here. They will actually manage to get that root on. Meminem immediately cleanses away from it. They manage to turn it right back. They do get the tower. However, the 2v3 actually looking pretty good. Hostile takeover coming through. Eminem flashes away from it. And they stay alive. What a hectic touch-and-go moment that was.
That was I think that was an unintentional dredge line. That definitely did not work out for carries in the end right there. So they get the flashes, they get the tower, but no kills whatsoever. And this is, once again, going to be an interesting sight to see where CFO actually drops Shun. They want to match him against Wisecam, but in the previous few games, what we've seen is that Wisecam's actually been able to find the kills back on the Shun when they drop that duo on top of him.
Absolutely. Game state, just a little under 1,000 in the lead for CFO. Dragons, one apiece, and a much more impactful one for Flying Oyster, as the towers are also split. So kind of we're seeing these games go back and forth, seesaw just a little bit, but stay relatively close for the time being. In this game state, in the current moment, they're starting to accelerate a little more on the CFO side. They've kept the Jax down. They have a timing window to work with here. What should they be doing next?
Oh, Jax once again, but this time it's pinged out.
They know.
Yeah, they know Wisecam and his tricks, and we've actually seen this from FAK Esports a couple times where they overstay for these cheeky plays, and it does get punished by map allocations where people can suddenly appear out of nowhere, have a lot more members, but maybe Shun is still going to fall for it.
Yeah, there's a lot more brush to play for in this Ocean Rift. It's actually going to be Koala. No, they actually jump right on top of Shun. Koala is going to get caught once again. Let's see if he turns anything around. Doesn't have a hostile takeover. I think the stocks in Classic Industry are going to be falling as Eminem picks up a kill himself. A great collapse by Frank.
Yeah, and I think this was kind of unnecessary from CFO. I'm not really sure what they were looking to accomplish here. This was their weak side of the map. They only had 2 people there, so... And they were holding a wave. Just completely unnecessary to take the wave here. This will mean that FAK Esports are just going to take away the second Herald of the game quite easily. No contest going to be thrown here. And they're also just giving Jax a lot of assists here.
Okay, the Weaver's Wall is going to happen. I think this is the contest right now as they will get to start off. The carries takes the dredge line away, and CFO are going to muscle in onto the Herald, and it's being seeded by Frank.
Yeah, this is, you know, good use of the Weaver's Wall to cut people off. At least they're going to get a free objective here. But at this point, I feel like they need to do something about Jax. Like, they can't let him get a free tower, so someone has to match and rest.
Oh! He walks right by it, but the dredge line's still going to catch him up. He does manage to get a 2-stop. However, I don't think he's going anywhere. Blast Cone taken, denied, and Holo claims another kill. Meanwhile, Wisecam just completely free farming it out down bottom. And it's turning into a bit of a race.
Yeah, CFO, I think they're, Well, if you look at the map here, there's 3 members not on the top of this lane. Like, they could realistically hold this wave a lot closer to their own side of the map. Be a lot safer here.
Koala was trying to babysit for his AD carry, but unfortunately, he also died as he gets zoned out. That was, I don't think they expected the entire Frank team to be there, minus, well, YSCam was too. And Tower Gold now being picked up by the Jacks. You're starting to see it swing back in favor of Frank.
And we didn't have a single Weaver's Wall that resulted in a kill just yet. I just feel like this Talia has been checked the entire way. And with an open map like this, it's going to be very difficult to actually find those opportunities to get the optimal play for CFO. You remember what we were talking about. It's the tower dive. You want the Weaver's Wall behind a tower. You want the Poppy to go in and get a charge. You have a lot of instant damage and very difficult to avoid AoE ultimates in chokes. But now you're on an open map like this, I don't see CFO really having much of an advantage here. It's certainly possible that the explosive cast could still, you know, cancel out YSCam and give them a win in teamfights, but certainly not in their favor.
Rip Gerald's going to charge into the mid. That will melt away some of the tower's hit points. However, it looks like Frank were kind of opting for what looked like a collapse. CFO with the death ball, just keeping themselves all together as this dragon spawns. This could be a good old flip.
Yeah, CFO do not have a good sustained damage profile here, and Mission
right.
is the one getting sought.
Holo's chased away, but the rest of the cavalry has arrived here. Let's see if they can get this one done. Gemini keeping on and forced Flash away. And CFO realized this was a hairy situation for him, but the dragon is still up for grabs.
Well, CFO actually managed to outplay a little bit just by catching the right side off guard there. They burn YSCam's ultimate. He's going to be a lot... Oh, but they...
Reset. Here comes the Weaver's Wall. It's not gonna do much, but try and lock up that dragon. Holo comes in, looking for the smite steal. That's gonna be the big bowling ball, and they managed to knock Holo out of this one. Gemini takes YSCam out of the fight. Dragon gets smited away. CFO do manage to walk away with everything so far. Will they get away? The answer is yes.
Kind of an awkward timing for YSCam. He thought that the top side of Frank Esports would be able to collapse a little sooner than they actually did, and once again CFO are able to just single out YSCam as he comes in with the engage and just mow him down.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I'm getting deja vu. Didn't we see that in game number 1? Different champion, same thing.
So CFO start this one off. The important thing to remember here is they already have the Jax ultimate down. He's actually very squishy at this point. Koala comes in with a decent angle onto the rest of the team to buy some time. And yeah, YSKN here tries to go in, but at the meantime, Gemini also gets a knockback onto Holo in the front. So they're able to just focus fire on one of these divers at a time. Very easy pickup for them. And we have that Jax still a ways off from being the 4-1 threat.
Yeah, he's an 0-4 threat right now. But we'll see if he's able to get up the line in time. I mean, it's a good trade back and forth. Frank do still have the gold lead, and that isn't the worst dragon to lose right now. It's not near soul point yet, but the later the game goes, you're feeling good with your Jax. I don't know if you're feeling good with the Aphelios and the other team. Yeah, Zeri's going to be able to scale up too, and I think Eminem's done a stellar job. But Shun, I don't think we've really seen full potential Shun this series. He's been good. Yeah, but he's not been what we expect just yet.
I think he's been consistently winning lane against Frank Esports Eminem and carries, but we haven't seen most of the composition being revolved around him. You know, he's either been able to deal damage unmolested, or he's been just jumped on and killed. So,
boom.
You know, there has been no in-between for him to kind of showcase his stuff.
Yeah, and I don't really think it's like necessarily a underperformance, right? It's just sort of like, yeah, the comps they're building aren't really revolving around the game tempo, isn't revolving around him, and you still like his ability to make plays and consistently deliver compared to even the likes of Atlan. I wouldn't expect to see a swap out unless he does something horribly wrong in this game, but 2 items on the Aphelios. He's at least matching Eminem Zeri. 3 item though. We'll see if he can go a little further after that.
I will say, I feel like the next couple of fights are going to be very difficult for Frank Esports. I think Frank Esports can play things out a little bit slower. They have that one-shot combo onto Shun, which makes me very worried about his chances here. You could have an invisible Wukong with the Orianna ball on top of you, just go on to Shun, and he's almost going to be 20% health, almost out of the fight. And Wisecam has been going for the flanks consistently, so I feel like the next fight is really difficult for Shun to survive any of this, and Shun's the only source of sustained damage, so the fights are relatively simple for Frank. I think you just take out the Aphelios and you weather the first burst, should be okay.
Yeah. CFO are really going to need to do a great job of layering their own CC. If they can get somebody out of the fight with numbers advantage, Gemini uses the Poppycopter. If they can have the hostile takeover land on who they need it to, that is actually going to knock away one. Eminem is zoned off his own tower, and well, they can't quite finish the job, but it's close. CFO just chipping away at it.
Yeah, but this could signal Frank Esports to look for an engage, as that is one big ultimate down already, and Gemini is going to run headfirst into some opposition.
Yeah, he finds Holo, but he does manage to get a wallbang, at least partially. Here comes the Weaver's Wall, flashes by Holo, knows that he's going to be able to get away from that. No, the big barrel does knock Pretender a little bit out of the action, still has that shockwave if he needs it. The hostile takeover going to split the rest of the team in. Oh, and a teleport for YSKM could not have come at a worse time, but the shockwave lands. He flashes away, delivers himself to safety. So many flashes expended in that fight, but Frank don't lose a member.
Oh, that was beautiful stuff from CFO. You know, they're constantly fishing for picks around the corner here. Explosive cast manages to go in. And I think this is the right idea to play against Frank Esports. If you set a pitch battle and you force yourselves into a contour like the Drake pit, I don't think you're walking out alive against what Frank can do. So the best idea for for CFO is to constantly find these poking opportunities, get the poke down and the burst with the Talia, and you know, they did that beautifully. They got so many different flashes and so many different ultimates right before the Drake fight here. And if I had to look at these two compositions, I would say that CFO are less ultimate. Eminem.
Okay. Oh, no, explosive cask. Oh, just into the wall. He's fine. He's fine. Everything's okay. Dragon is going to come up, and Frank are going to start it here, trying for the contest. But CFO got to be feeling themselves. Eminem has no cleanse and has half his HP, as he does send an Ultra Shock laser over the wall and finds Koala. YSKM this time with the team, trying to get on work their duty, but he gets hand shook into range. Dragon stays aggroed, but goes right back to the pit. This is the bailout. Poppycopter wind up. You have to respect it. CFO keep the Dragon on. That's going to be resetting Gemini's ultimate.
They're going to try to rush
Dragon
it
flip
where the ult goes down.
They got to get in there. They got to make the play. That shockwave could make all the difference. Keep your eye on the ball placement. CFO, they know it.
For the cutoff.
They're just holding this one. Here comes that wind up, and the pitch goes nowhere. That's going to be that turn immediately. They still secure the Dragon, but the fight, will it go? Two members end up in the shockwave. Gemini going to go low, and here comes YSKM into the back line. They get some knockups for days, but they can't deliver the kill. The turnaround rests with a big burst on the barrel. Manages to take Holo out of the fight. That's going to be it.
Oh, that's amazing play coming in from CFO. The instant exhaust from Koala stops YSKM from going on to Shin. And when you see Holo finally coming into the back line, the front line is completely congested. Mission is able to put down that the workaround across the entire front line right there. And now Frank Esports, they're going to find it really difficult to engage, especially with Rest holding down the front here.
Hostile takeover does land on a couple of members, and that's just enough to buy the escape route time for CFO. So, getting out 5-5 in kills, just shy of 25 minutes on the mark, and CFO transition a Dragon fight win into a Baron.
I think Frank actually backed out a little too far after this one, and you can see the aftershock, the shockwave only lands onto the two tanks in the front line, so it's not too much of a loss in terms of the damage for CFO. Instant exhaust coming down here, beautiful stuff, and then Rest takes all the damage and survives with the bailout. Mission actually wasted flash here, but it's okay. They got the win, and then they're gonna go for the Baron.
Yeah, nicely done. So, in the driver's seat right now, CFO, they've got the Baron Nash to work with. Let's see what they can get done with it. Whew, boy, a lot of vision invested by Frank around the back of that Baron pit and around their own jungle. They might make use of it soon, as CFO have the tempo advantage. They also have Soul Point, setting up a little bit of a chase on Gemini, moving forward on that steadfast presence. Steals away the red buff, and didn't see Jax, does manage to knock at least the Wukong out of the fight, and they will bail out from that one. It's a Poppy reset.
A really close fight here, and Mission going on his own could be the target of some harass. No, they're not going to see that just yet. CFO going to head straight for the top side, and with Wise Cam at this HP, I think it's relatively safe for CFO to be taking this one down.
Eminem's going to be hopping the wall and trying to push away this mini wave. The rest of Frank have reacted, but they're neglecting Mission. It's a 5v4. Ultra Shock Laser finds 2. Counter-Strike, Wisecam finds nothing. That Jax has certainly been set behind this game. He needs a lot more time to scale up.
Yeah, Mission in the meantime able to just shove in all the way into the middle section of the map. So they're chipping down on 2 towers at the same time. Wisecam does have a TP. Nah, he's not going to use it. Just going to reset this one and give over the 2 towers.
Fortunately, does manage to fall. So CFO, there we go. Just letting the minions do the dirty work. Mission throws a rock at it to finish the job. 27 minutes, continuing this push here, trying to make the most of their Baron buff. It still has about 40 seconds left. Here comes the Weaver's Wall up. They will get the root off onto the Jax Counter-Strike, and the big barrel just pushes him away. It gets shoved seismically again, and they manage to take him down. YSKM never had a chance to even flash it. That's going to open up the inhibitor here, and CFO, they're serious about striking back in this game 3.
Really nicely done here. I think YSCam was a little bit greedy on not trying to get out of the wall in front of a Poppy, in front of a Gragas. Yeah, he's trying to hold on to that summoner for a bit too long. CFO punish him for it. They're going to take an extra inhibitor off of this trade. I really feel like they should have only gotten 1, but they're going to get 2 for their troubles, and that really means the Drake now is wide open. They're already at 3. And with all of the topside inhibitors down in the top, in the front, it's gonna be so easy for them to just walk in and collect this Ocean Soul. I almost feel like we're gonna have to see Holo with some Arashi-style steal to stop this from happening.
Yeah, I mean, he's got those kills early. He was able to do a lot of damage, of course, with Black Cleaver himself, and I think a heroic play would be in order, but Holo has just been stymied. He hasn't been able to finish the job, and CFO, they're just dancing around the edge of these fights and winning them by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, I think CFO are playing these fights really smartly. They understand that their job is just to pick up one single target and make sure Frank don't have the combat stats to re-engage. So what they've been doing is just focusing on whoever doesn't have a flash, using the Weaver's Wall to trap people, and then get their first combo in. So very clever way to play it. They're not looking for the full engage. They're not looking to get entangled here. However, Eminem might make that stick as he finds a slow across the wall. Very tense situation.
Shockwave, they find 2. Here we go. They're going to be bringing Holo in, but he just tries to get the knockups. Doesn't really find nearly enough as he needed. And Gemini says it's my turn as he goes forward and chases the rest of Frank away. So a couple of engage tools spent in that one. Carrie's trying to go in for round 2. Holo already down to half his HP, and now the teleport comes back in from Mission. Holo's going to start off this dragon, look for the objective bounty, but I don't think they can shred this in time.
Yeah, CFO is going to have a re-engage, but they're missing a lot of their ultimates here, and I feel like this is the best chance for Frank to come back into the fight. The best chance that they've had entire game. YSCam looking at Shin.
To get that dragon, so they deny the soul. However, Carries might lose his life for it in exchange. It's going to be a big YSCM counter-strike just to defy them, to push them off, and ooh, Frank, are they walking away from this one? Backing away slowly, more like it, as the Weaver's Wall comes in to cut off Eminem and Holo. They can't get into their base, and look at the supers!
I don't think the supers are going to be taking down any of the Nexus towers. Just looking at it, yeah, there's a couple backs already through. Ooh. Very, very close, but well played by Frank. I think the most critical thing is that they constantly found the poke damage onto Shun. Shun, for me, no real reason to get that close to the ramp. He takes a huge chunk of damage, which forces multiple ultimates off on the side of CFO. They had to use both the Hero's Verdict and also the hostile takeover early, which meant that walking into the ramp, they couldn't really push forward anymore.
Yeah, even without the Shockwave and the Cyclone, there's still a better trade of tools there. I like YSKM using his Counter-Strike as just a cover. He's still kind of a stat stick despite being denied so much in this game. And hey, we're 30 minutes into this one, and I feel like Jax is just slowly ramping up. Got the Sunder, got the Death Stance, Warden's Mail as well. He's getting there. A little bit more tanky you typically see on a Jax, I would suppose, but that's kind of his job this game, as they've been forced into a 5v5 scenario.
Yeah, that was a massive wasted opportunity from CFO, honestly. All they needed to do was make sure they avoided some of the damage and just wait for the minion waves with the supers to go into the enemy base. So CFO, they really dropped the ball in that previous fight by allowing Shun to get targeted here. But they still have those 2 open inhibitors. You're seeing both super minions hit the waves here. And CFO are setting up for a bait on top of this Baron. Here they go.
Hey, Ultra Strike Laser, that was a bit aggressive move from Koala as he flashes forward, doesn't quite find the handshake, and they'll ping back towards the Baron. YSKM could teleport in to try and make the play, still behind in this game, but we've seen Frank be able to find a fight. That Hex Flash from Gemini doesn't find purchase. Carries immediately turns around. Whew. Touch and go.
Yeah, I think the super minions are a little bit too far away for this to actually threaten Frank Esports. They're going to try a much more direct approach, and this time YSKM does have a flash to go over. Oh, he gets
immediately denied, ejected out of that one, and they take the Baron. They send the hostile takeover.
No,
and
Carry still goes in
as well. Lightning Crash from Enemy's trying to make something for it, but Carry's taken very low and taken out by the Ophelia. Shun sends it from downtown on the Moonlight Vigil. And YSKM arrives way too late, so now a man advantage and the Baron buff.
Great snipe on the side of Gemini to prevent that counter-strike from going across the team. Now, YSKM has to run away a little bit faster than this one. Could be in a little bit of danger. And with these inhibitors coming up in succession, we could see CFO continue to extend their game plan with they just have these 2 open inhibs throughout the next 4 minutes.
Yeah, that was
they're actually going to back
swing with CFO. They're going to back off now, but still, they bought themselves some time to work with. They got the Baron buff on him. Yeah, you got to love that from Gemini. Just immediately ejects YSKM the moment he sees him coming in. And, whew, Poppy's a good champion, man.
Yeah, really nicely timed. Of course, he could see that teleport coming in through the FAK of War, so knew where to aim, and YSKM wasn't able to dodge out on that one. So they find it, and now I think all CFO really need to do is just set up for the Ocean Soul. Ocean Soul is still massive coming into this patch. You get 3% missing HP regeneration for each one, and they're going to have 3. So unless Frank Esports actually just burst someone from the start of the fight, they're not going to be able to win. Like, if they don't burst kill Shun at the start of the fight, it's actually just over. CFO will it be able to snowball in the end. So I think for them, the game plan is, you know, you have the Baron buff. If you want to, maybe get 1 or 2 of these open inhibs, and then just walk towards the Drake.
Try to force Frank into a bad fight situation. Last tower outside the base is going to fall. They don't actually go for the inhibitors instead. They're going to try and bait out an overstay. I don't think that's going to happen on the Frank side, though. Mission staying back in the mid lane right now. Does not have teleport, but he closed the gap pretty well. And I do want to give Mission some credit. We talked about Celia not looking so hot in the start of the game and how he hadn't really used a lot of aggressive Weavers wells, but he's been using them very dynamically to set up these terrain advantages that they can push into.
Yeah, I think what we've seen from Mission is that he's most of the time actually sideline split pushing and just threatening to come into the fight in the nick of time. So it makes Frank Esports a little bit worried about engaging. It makes checks them to the point where if Frank want to go in, they have to go in one big group, which actually allows Rest to reset the entire fight. Now we have the Weaver's wall going to resets. YSKM there.
They're just rushing it down. The handshake onto YSKM. He's trying to threaten here, but he gets stymied for just a second. Gemini keeps his eyes on the prize. He will be able to secure that Dragon to Soul. They turn immediately on to Frank Esports.
The Moonlight Vigil.
And Carry's going to melt the Moonlight Vigil's huge as Shun gets himself everything. And they will be able to take down Frank Esports. Only Pretender lives, but the Nexus will not be for much longer. And I think Pretender's not even getting back to his own base.
Yeah, he knows he's down. He's just trying to buy some time here. Actually gets the flash overword. A lot of cheeky play coming in from the mid laner.
That's a full AP, Gragas, and Gemini on your back. You're not getting away from that anytime soon. All right, there's the shutdown. That is going to be the end of this game. CFO will go up 2-1 in the series. A well-executed game to bounce back from their loss against Frank.
Now, this one was definitely a very interesting game state. We saw what happened was basically CFO buy themselves a lot of time against the Jax. He was tower dove consistently, down 3 kills, about 20 CS early. And the interesting thing is CFO actually never executed their go-to game plan. Instead, they used it as bait to constantly pull Frank Esports' attention down towards the bottom lane. And I think between these two teams, we're starting to see a pattern. It's that the team that can play aggressive, that actually gets an early game lead, kind of snowballs throughout the rest of it. What we've seen is that CFO consistently being able to establish early game direction, and if they actually draft for it, I think they can follow it through with the mid game as well.
Oh, certainly. I think CFO, I love the misdirect on the telegraphed game plan versus the actual game plan, and it worked against a team like FAK Esports, who had shown them up the last time around. It does seem like Poppy has been a big win condition for this team, and a Gemini piloting it to perfection in that particular game. Denying the Silas as well from Pretender is really, really good. So honestly, just CFO adapting, learning. I think FAK, the ball's back in their court. They're going to have to find an answer to what CFO just brought and shut them out with.
If we look across the ban picks right here, I feel like FAK Esports have kind of pigeoned themselves into a box right now. All three of these bans feel sort of locked in if they're going onto the red side. So the blue side, they do have a little bit of wiggle room here and there. They can probably drop the Sivir and pick it for themselves. But it means that a lot of times the Poppy's going to come. Like the Poppy Sivir is kind of the dynamic here. If CFO get either one of those, I think they're pretty happy. So I expect that to be kind of the draft scenario to set up. If you're on red side, you just keep one of them open, and you pick whichever ones FAK Esports gives you.
Yeah, it's like a good old handshake. I think that's a big play, and Shun definitely finding himself in that one. When he was well enough protected, he was able to open up. The Moonlight visuals were massive that game, and this is what happens when you're in a Aphelios that is allowed to do what you want, is allowed to build full into damage, not having to go for that Bloodthirster. Game 2 and 3 were night and day, just because the dive potential wasn't quite there. And also, a great job that CFO did, not just Rest, but also Gemini, at shutting down that Jax, denying him so long in this game. YSCam was never really allowed to get on the side lane, even when he started getting back into the game, because the team fights kept happening. I think that was just a brilliant strategy, and it's not something we see most teams being able to do against this FAK Esports side.
Yeah, I think Gemini consistently has been doing a better job at controlling the objectives throughout this entire series, especially the Drakes, that a lot of threat has been put there. So we are going to be taking a look at some of the team fights that had just happened there. It was a fairly easy setup on the side of CFO. This one was one of the earlier team fights here. What happened is YSCam already had his ultimate burned down. You had a lot of layered disengage from CFO to buy time for the rest of the composition, and unfortunately Gemini has just been so perfect on this one, able to knock away Holo, make sure YSCam is the only target to focus down. When he does come in, they take him out. Holo never finds the Cyclone with the ball combo into the rest of the team, and they're just able to walk away with these Drakes quite consistently over and over again.
Yeah, I really like this. I think Camille probably would have been better in that situation. As a team fighter, you want to be able to do a little bit more than the Jax can. And I think YSCam, FAK, they've been reliant on his ability to just be a side lane terror, but when he's not allowed to live in a side lane, well, he can't really do as much. Gemini does whiff a little bit on that wind up there. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, and they still manage to survive the burst, the shockwave landing only onto the tank members. Holo trying to get Gemini down. They're so close. YSCam locks everybody up, and you think for a moment they're gonna get this, but Rest with the big barrel knocks them all away. They burst down Holo in the nick of time, and Gemini somehow limps out with his health bar. I mean, I don't know how he pulled that off.
So I think we're seeing FAK kind of be constricted by their own champion picks here, because FAK is never playing a front to back late game composition. They're never going to go Azir Zeri with the Norn. I would be very surprised if they do, but so far it doesn't seem like they want to go down that path. And what that means is, at some level, the way they're going to engage in team fights is with a backline dive. If you can't play front to back, then most likely you're going to have to flame. And what CFO are doing is just making sure that they have plenty of counter engagement. That has just been the answer for them. You stick a hyper carry onto Shun. You don't really care about the early game options like the Kalista and Lucian, and you just layer the composition with a lot of tanks, with a lot of reset abilities, and you force FAK Esports to charge at you over and over.
Oh yeah, and they did with all 5 members. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't quite finish it off. And look at that, the damage being dealt by the Orion and Zeri doesn't surprise me. But the most damage dealt on the CFO side was by Rest. I love this AP Gragas build, man. He just comes in and he's like, I'm first strike. I'm not going tank. None of that nonsense. I'm just gonna be able to take it to the Jax, and he did.
Yeah, and it was so difficult for the Jax to actually get into these fights. That's the biggest difference with the Jax and the Camille or the Aurelia. You know, Aurelia has those resets. She can go back in when she finds a kill. Camille has that untargetability with the Hextech Ultimatum. But good old Jax only has a short cooldown Q. So if the first couple of jumps don't work, then he has to kind of wait for his flash or wait for the 6 seconds. And CFO just did a terrific job at keeping YSCam away from combat. Big part of that has to go to Gemini.
Yeah. Here's the reason why. Gemini was doing a great job in the top lane early. He was everywhere on the map as well. And his Poppy once again proved to be the difference maker. Denying Holo so many chances to try and get involved in objective fights. And denying YSCam, that memorable moment, he teleports in on the Vision and gets immediately ejected. Yeah, this is a champion you have to consider banning. Once again.
Yeah, I think CFO have just gotten such a good read on this series. You deny the flankers coming in from YSCam, and I wonder if they are going to consider an outscaling game, because that is one of the weaknesses traditionally of CFO, is that when they are the ones that have to go aggressive, they oftentimes don't perform as well as when they can just kind of sit back and use range.
Well, we will see which way the game goes, which way the wind blows, because CFO are on match point. We'll see if Frank can take us all to game 5 right after this.